Theresa May, just another resounding defeat in Parliament. This fucking Brexit thing just continues to be astoundingly funny. I'm sorry if you live in the UK, but I mean, sorry, mate. It's hilarious.
I can't wait to go there because we're going on a UK tour in June and just own everyone there the entire time.
It's, nobody knows what the fuck
doing
to do.
my flawless accent
or want.
I will get glassed.
But I just got to read though. The real soothsayer. I mean, Derek, you're aspiring to be like this guy, the true king of the flat globe. I'm talking about Thomas Friedman.
I can't grow a mustache like his. I've tried, but I can't make it happen.
And he turned out an opinion piece for the Times today that is vintage Friedman, and I got to share it with you guys. The headline is the title is "The United Kingdom has gone mad. The problem with holding out for a perfect Brexit plan is that you can't fix stupid." And he,
well, he would know.
Yeah.
That's lit. What is that? Is that one of the fucking like blue collar comedy kings punchline?
Like
Bill Engvall or some shit.
Yeah.
Hey, Theresa May, here's your sign.
So he goes, just skipping ahead just a little bit. It goes, seriously, if you can't take a joke, you shouldn't have come to London right now because there is political farce everywhere. In truth, though, it's not very funny. It's actually tragic. What we're seeing is a country that's determined to commit economic suicide but can't even agree on how to kill itself. It's an epic failure of political leadership. I say, bring back the monarchy. Where have you gone, Queen Elizabeth II? A nation turns its lonely eyes to you. Activate the Queen! Activate the bloody Queen!
The bloody Queen!
So Thomas Friedman
hit her fucking moldering corpse with a goddamn car battery so that she can be awake for 5 minutes to fire everyone and declare martial law.
Stab that adrenaline needle into her heart. Get her up. Get the Queen.
Get the Queen up, mate.
Tom Friedman has already gone full monarchist, but he goes here.
Put her in her mech suit. You know she has one.
He goes here, seriously, the United Kingdom, the world's fifth largest economy, a country whose elites created modern parliamentary democracy, modern banking and finance, the Industrial Revolution, and the whole concept of globalization. Oh, wait, they're responsible for all of those horrible things?
Wow, they really are a bunch of
Get rid of this shithole country.
If I could just control demolition of the entire island.
This is the United Kingdom, the world's fifth largest economy that brought us such things as those dark satanic mills, Jimmy Savile, imperialism, the Opium Wars, and another and many other unspeakables.
Both kinds, both kinds of Indian genocide.
Concentration camps. They invented those. As well.
They did. But take a bow.
Bring back
that Queen Elizabeth line. The only thing I could think of was when Mr. Burns says to Smithers, "Very well, begin the thawing of Jim Nabors."
He goes here. The country that brought us, ritual pederasty, seems dead set on quitting the European Union, the world's largest market for the free movement of goods, capital, services, and labor, without a well-conceived plan, or maybe without any plan at all. Both Conservative and Labour members of Parliament keep voting down one plan after another, looking for the perfect fix, the pain-free exit from the EU. But there is none, because you can't fix stupid.
Nope. Or because, these countries have all been enmeshed in these transnational institutions that have totally abolished national sovereignty in many ways and made it impossible for you to function in a global economy without being part of their network. And they will punish you and make it impossible for you to fucking, dictate your own goddamn destiny economically because of the interdependence and the trade networks. I think it has more to do with it than a fucking Larry the Cable Guy line from 2004. You fucking mustachioed dipshit.
He goes, the entire Brexit choice was presented to the public in 2016 with utterly misleading simplicity. I mean, that's hilarious coming from Thomas Friedman. If you remember some of his hilarious columns about pitching the Iraq War, he was just like,
you just gotta say, suck on this.
Suck on this.
Suck on this. That's pretty simplistic there, Thomas.
Yeah, no, he said American troops need to go door to door and tell Iraqis, you don't like living in the world we've always dreamed of? Well, suck on this.
Yeah.
And he goes here, It was sold with a pack of lies about both the size of the benefits and the ease of implementation, and it continues to be pushed by conservative hardliners who used to care about business but are now obsessed with restoring Britain's sovereignty over any economic considerations. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how conservatives have given up the ghost on globalization and free market if they can just double down on sovereignty.
Yeah. Well, that's because the whole thing's falling apart. It's not working for people anymore, and they need to find the scapegoats. And even if, in the broad sense, all of these things have been good for the ruling class, they are undermining their credibility in, the putative democracies, and they have to find some reason. But the thing is that, like, there's a strong left case to get out of the EU, or for the abolition of the fucking EU altogether. But the problem, I mean, he has a bit of a correct thing in there, in that the Brexit vote was absurd, because regardless of how you thought Brexit should be handled, what do you think to do with the EU? As like leave or not, that was an absurd question, because it didn't tell you what the terms were going to be. And that's why it's been this 2-year clusterfuck, because nobody has any idea of like what the mandate is, because there has to be an agreement of some kind, and there's been no ability to create a consensus across parties or even with the general public on what that alternative is. And so it's just been finding out that every single one is unpopular and it can't pass. Every single alternative. They had like a vote where they let them all pick, like they had 8 options, and they voted yes or no on all of them, and every single one failed by different margins, but every single one failed. Astounding.
So it wouldn't be a Thomas Friedman column unless he didn't include, even better than the apocryphal cab driver, he does love speaking to the real heroes here, who are corporate CEOs. In this case, the CEO of Airbus. And I'm going to skip these paragraphs, but basically he just uses this guy. He basically publishes the Airbus CEO's threat to the British people that, we can always build our planes elsewhere. And, Brexit is making us more likely to do that. So, he's like, if you like Brexit, I hope you don't like jobs. So the CEO of Airbus, he's sort of laundering that point of view in the column. But he goes on, he says, I understand the grievances of many of those who voted to leave the EU. For starters, they felt swamped by EU immigrants. There are reportedly some 300,000 French citizens living in London, which would make it one of the biggest French cities in the world. I had a drink with a member of parliament in the bar in the House of Commons on Tuesday, and as we sat down, he whispered to me that, quote, not a single person working in this whole building is British, which is like, first of all, I'd like to know the name of that guy. That sounds insane and paranoid, and it sounds like the ravings of a madman. And also, like he says that I understand the grievances. There's 300,000 French people living in England? What is this like?
I can understand that.
Yeah, well.
The French? Ooh.
Yeah, but I don't. The complaint isn't with the French people who moved to Britain. It's with the Poles and the Czechs and the other Eastern European, Central and Eastern European migrants that have come to Britain. Those are the ones who were demonized by the pro-Brexit side, kind of on the right, during the referendum campaign.
And he goes, I also get the resentment of Brits at having regulations set by faceless EU bureaucrats in Brussels. And I get their resentment at the globalized urban elites who those in the rural areas here believed look down at them. And I get the squeeze on middle-class wages here that gets blamed unfairly on the EU and immigrants the way that President Trump blames Mexicans. I get all of that. But I also get what it means to be a leader in the 21st century. I love that. Like, he spends those 2 paragraphs just being like, yeah, all of you fucking hicks and lunatics angry about Polish plumbers taking your jobs away. I get you. I hear you. But I also understand what it means to be a leader in the 21st century.
Which
so
means,
how about you shut the fuck up?
What it means to be a leader is to fucking tell people to suck on this.
Yeah.
We told Iraq to suck on this, and now you have to tell your own rest of populations to suck on this.
Yeah.
And that's the insane hollowness in the center of all of these guys, all of these elite pundits who talk about like macroeconomic shit and foreign policy stuff, is at the end of the day, they will always have a paragraph where they say, yeah, there's a reason that people are upset with these institutions. There's a reason that there's a crisis of legitimacy. But at the end of the day, we're in charge for a reason. Shut the fuck up. Like, but the thing is but that does not help you. That doesn't. I mean, no one's going to find that convincing. I mean, none of these people read your shit anyway.
Thomas Friedman isn't running for office anywhere, so he can tell people.
He's just telling the elites who have to deal with this.
He's giving them a script so that they can say things like, "I understand your grievances.
I feel your pain."
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Right.
But he goes here. I get what it means to be a leader in the 21st century, and it sure doesn't mean asserting your sovereignty over all other considerations or breaking out of the giant EU market where the UK sends over 40% of its exports without a serious national discussion of the costs and benefits. This is my favorite part. He goes, what do the most effective leaders today have in common? They wake up every morning and ask themselves the same questions. What world am I living in? Is that the most effective leader or the most senile one?
Yeah. Do I smell toast? Who are my grandchildren?
What day is it?
Why is my left arm numb?
He goes, they wake up every morning and ask themselves the same questions. What world am I living in? What are the biggest trends?
How did I get here?
What are the biggest trends in this world? And how do I educate my citizens?
What are the biggest trends in this world? Tamagotchis are coming back.
And how do I educate my citizens about this world and align my policies so that more of my people can get the best out of these trends and cushion the worst?
Look at that. That's he's saying it. He's saying you wake up and you jack into the global capitalist hive supercomputer that tells you what's happening, and then your job is just to sell it to your idiot rube citizens. There's no changing anything. They have no control over their destiny. You don't even have control over everything. You are completely at the mercy of this machinery. No. And your job is to pitch it to people to prevent them from tearing the whole thing down.
Yeah, exactly. The most effective leaders are the ones who can, craft a narrative so that the shitheads who live in their country will have understand the real cost benefit and have cushioned the blow of telling them that in fact they all have to accept a much dramatically lowered standard of living. But I love the idea about the first thing they think about when they wake up every morning. What world am I living in? And I just had an image reading that of Mohammed bin Salman just with the Victorian sleeping cap on and then just eyes open, bolt upright, eyes glowing, real shit. What world am I living in? What trends can I think about today?
How many Falcons am I going to buy today?
Yeah.
How many gold-plated Falcons am I going to purchase? But
I'm imagining one of these guys waking up one morning and reading about the Juicero. A Wi-Fi enabled juicer. That's where things are going today. All right, let's do it.
I mean, he doesn't name who the most effective.
No,
of course not, because he probably is. He's probably thinking of Angela Merkel or something. But the real answer is Erdogan and fucking Netanyahu, MBS, and Putin. Those are the actual most effective leaders.
And guess what they're using to paper over the cost-benefit analysis? Hardcore, insane nationalism.
And violent
violent
warfare.
repression. Yeah, and war.
Both internal and external.
Yeah. So, God, it keeps getting better. This is just such vintage for... This is he's given us the hits here. So he goes, what world are we living in? For starters, we're living in a world that is becoming so interconnected.
God.
Are we living in the future we always dreamed of?
Yes, indeed.
Thomas!
Yes, indeed we are. And this is my favorite part. He goes, we're living in a world that is becoming so interconnected. And then he goes here in dashes. Thanks to digitization, the internet, broadband, mobile devices, the cloud, and soon-to-be 5G wireless transmissions. And I just love this because I was like, wow, Tom is really padding out the word count on this column. You just said the internet 6 times, dude.
I'm surprised that he didn't throw in information superhighway. That's a lot more syllables.
Massive multiplayer online role-playing games. Fortnite, Apex Legends.
Chat forums, something awful. 4chan, 8chan.
And he goes, that we are becoming interdependent to an unprecedented degree. Again, does Thomas Friedman have an editor at the New York Times?
No, they don't edit him.
Yeah, they don't edit him. It's you've been turning in the same fucking column for 15 years now,
It's just that Common commercial.
Yeah.
Every single one is just the fucking Common commercial.
And he goes, in this world, growth increasingly depends on the ability of yourself, your community, your town, your factory, your school, and your country to be connected more and more to the flows of knowledge and investment, and not just rely on the stocks of stuff. Okay, so in the interdependent, interconnected world, you have your school, your factory, your town, your government needs to think about flows, not stocks. And he goes, over centuries, notes John Hagel, who currently co-heads Deloitte's Center for the Edge. How is that a real thing?
The Center for Edging. It's the Center for Edging.
The Center for the Edge.
We have never nutted in this building, and we never will.
The guy who co-heads the Center for Edging says business has, quote, been organized around stocks of knowledge as the basis for value creation. The key to creating economic value has been to acquire some proprietary knowledge stocks, aggressively protect those knowledge stocks, and then efficiently extract the economic value from those knowledge stocks and deliver them to the market.
Gibberish!
The challenge in a more rapidly changing world is that knowledge stocks depreciate at an accelerating rate.
What?
In this kind of world, the key source of economic value shifts from stocks to flows. It's the interconnected, interdependent, cloud-based world is experiencing a heavy flow at the moment.
Oh, I got to get that knowledge flow and not those knowledge stocks. Oh, I'm shorting the knowledge stocks.
What does any of this mean?
It's
I have no
gibberish.
clue.
These all I'm convinced that every one of these groups, things, all these think tanks, like not part of it is they're court ideologues, court economists who are there just to justify in the minds of the billionaires of the elite why what they're doing is right. But I think also it's just a make work program for their idiot nephews and stuff.
That's who works at the Center for
Yeah,
Edging.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a wonk version of like a handbag line for your bored third wife.
So I'm skipping ahead here. There's even more drivel that's not worth reading. He goes, the wisest leaders also understand that all the big problems today are global problems, and they only have global solutions.
I mean, by definition, the big problems would be global, since that's the largest unit.
And I am talking about climate change, trade rules, technology standards, and preventing excesses and contagion in financial markets. What is preventing contagion?
Contagion in financial markets.
You got stocks in my bonds. I got bonds in your stocks.
The NASDAQ took a beating today after a bird flu outbreak. All the traders.
You call your broker and you say, I'm sorry, your portfolio has AIDS.
If you check the T-cell count on the bond markets lately, it's bad. He goes here, if your country wants to have a say in how those problems are solved, and your country's name is not America, Russia, China, or India, you need to be part of a wider coalition like the European Union. The UK membership in the EU has given it an outsized voice in world affairs. Again, I would like Britain to use more of their indoor voice in world affairs.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, buddy.
Be nice.
After World War II, you can
great.
just sort of, bye.
Yeah.
But, it goes here. And there's one more thing the best leaders know. A little history. Trump is fine with a world of competitive European nationalisms, not a strong European Union. So is Vladimir Putin. So, it seems, are the Brexiteers. How quickly they've all forgotten that the EU and NATO were built to prevent the very competitive nationalism that ran riot in Europe in the 20th century and brought us 2 world wars.
NATO was built to counter the Soviet Union. It wasn't built for that.
And they hired a bunch of Nazis to staff it.
Jesus Christ.
That's called knowing a little history. Let's put on our history caps here. So he goes, sorry to be so despondent, but I went to graduate school here on a Marshall Scholarship from the British government, was married here, and started as a journalist on Fleet Street in London. I like the place, but this is not the reasonably competent British government I grew up with. These
aren't the guys where Anthony Eden did a bunch of poppers and tried to invade Egypt.
It's being led by a ship of fools, a conservative party bloc that is now radical in its obsession with leaving Europe, and a Labour Party that has gone Marxist. Oh, okay. Thanks for that.
Can't have that.
Thomas. Can't have that happen. If the people here can't force their politicians to compromise with one another and with reality, there's still a glimmer of hope that this might happen. There is going to be a crack-up of the British political system and some serious economic pain. This is scary. So concludes the Thomas Friedman column.
And the nationalism was the nationalized healthcare system was hanging from the door of the car.
Yeah, the truck driver was flashing its headlights because he was trying to warn you. Marxists were in the back of the car the
It's
whole
a load
time.
of bollocks, isn't it?
No, but I mean, I'd be okay with a United Kingdom with a significantly diminished role on the
Yeah, they
world
need to
affairs. They should-
settle the fuck down, guys.
But yeah, that is Thomas Friedman, ladies and germs, about what it means to be a leader in the world today, which basically means doing things that are horrendously unpopular but avoiding any kind of democratic accountability for those decisions.
Yeah, it rules.
Well, I think that about does it for us today. But Derek, you've got some new digs for